Alright guys, it's Dokkan time, and today we are going to be doing a how to build video for the brand spanking new units of Future Gohan and Sword of Hope Trunks. So, both of these units are kinda a little bit controversial, I'd almost say, on how you want to build them. I would even go as far as to say you have a little bit more leeway with how you build them, especially Gohan. Just because he's just that freaking oppressive. Like, he's just that good, is basically what I'm saying. So, we'll start off with Gohan, because he's honestly the easiest to go through, whereas Trunks is a little difficult. But let's see here. So, Gohan has greatly raises attack and then raises defense for one turn. So, that's not a stacking effect. That is just him greatly raising his attack by 50% and raising his defense for one turn specifically. And then we got this 18 key, which massively raises attack, which is a 100% buff. And then greatly raises defense for one turn. So he's not stacking at all, which is unfortunate. But I don't think he needs it. I really don't think he needs it that much. It's just good that he's raising his defense by 50 on 18 and at least 30 on 12. So let's get into his passive. He does have his entrance animation, which key plus 5 reduces damage received by 40% for 5 turns from the start of turn. So the only thing that sucks is that once this 5 turns runs out, you really feel a significant difference on how much less or how much more damage he will take. Keep in mind he does have more damage reduction in his passive, but you have to keep in mind that there's 5 turns right here. Key plus 3 attack and defense 158. He can get an additional key up to 5 and an additional attack and defense up to 100 with each attack performed. And that's attack, not super, just attack. So, that's good. That's good. Not locked behind a super attack. He reduces damage received by 20% at all times. That's fantastic. And then he has another additional damage reduction of 20% and launches an additional attack that has a 50% chance of becoming a super attack when key is 18 or more. So as long as you're 18 key supering every single turn, then you have 40% damage reduction, just straight up. So that's a good thing. 40% is very good. The problem lies in when he loses this right here. He just yeah, it's unfortunate he'll lose that eventually. He launches an additional super attack when key is 20 or more. So if you can just pop that marker over the 18 key, just 2 more key orbs, just 2 more, then you can get a free additional super. So that means, let's see here, there's 1 super here, and then there's another super here, and then there's his base super. So this man triple supers without any hidden potential. Without any hidden potential, he can triple super. He then creates the domain of City Futurani. Such a funny name. For 5 turns from the 5th turn, start a turn. So basically, as soon as he loses his 40% damage reduction, he gets his domain up. Which is good. That's very good. Unlike certain freaking units that lose their buffs and then have to wait a turn. What turn am I go? I'm sorry. While the domain city active, changes intelligence key spheres to STR key spheres, and at the start of character's attacking turn, okay, and performs a critical hit when activating the active skill or when he's at key 24 or more. So that's fantastic because he has built-in crit at 24 key. Mind you, he's only critting automatically when you hit 24 key, and of course when you use the active. But he's only able to crit when he has the domain active. The domain is up for 5 turns, so that means when you hit turn 5, he will have the domain up still by turn 10. Now, I'll be real with you, if you're in a fight that's longer than turn 10, you're not in a quote-unquote difficult content stage, you're just in a random one-off stage that doesn't really require that much effort. Unless it's against stage 7 Vegito Blue, then that might be a little different, and I'm not sure how you survive that long. But, so with that in mind, he's critting on his domain at all times. He has 80% damage reduction, so he's just a ridiculously unstoppable tank. He's triple supering in his freaking passive. I mean, what does this boy not do? He doesn't dodge. That's it. He just doesn't dodge. So my first suggestion is that people just straight up go full dodge. I mean, it's not that you can't give him additional. There's nothing wrong with additional, in fact. I will say you can straight up give him additional. But there's no reason to give him crit. I'm sorry. There's no reason to give him crit. I don't see any purpose in giving him crit. The first 5 turns, he's already living everything. I don't see any reason to give him crit. He has 5 crit already, just because he's an STR unit. I believe he does have Dismal Future as well. Yeah, so Dismal Future gives him another 5% crit on top of his 5 crit in his hidden potential, so long as you're obviously getting the link off. But that's good enough crit, in all honesty. That 5 crit and that link Dismal Future, that's plenty of crit for this dude who automatically crits from his domain effect. I don't see any reason to even invest in crit. In fact, if I see a future Gohan in my freaking friend list that has crit put into his hidden potential, I will delete you. I will just straight up delete you. I'm sorry. I will. You're wasting the possible potential of this unit. You either give him additional or dodge. That's your only choices. Those are your only choices. I specifically would probably, if I had him rainbowed, I don't have him rainbowed. If I had him rainbowed, I would primarily focus probably on additional and then put the rest into dodge. Because you're going to get a lot more stonks out of giving him additional, so he can potentially get more defense, he can potentially do more damage, than the, like, itty-bitty amounts of dodge that he just doesn't really need. I will say this, once he hits turn 5 and loses that 40% damage reduction, yes, he turns into a slot 2 unit. That is for sure, 100%. Unless he has type advantage in slot 1, then I would just highly presume that you should put him straight up into slot 2 right after he loses that 5-turn buff of 40%. 80% damage reduction is a lot different from 40%. And unfortunately, he just doesn't have that high of a defense stat. Like, his maximum defense stat, even at Rainbow, is probably going to be somewhere around the 400k marker. Now, obviously, after he double to quadruple supers, that's going to be much higher. He'll be easily getting up there to 800k defense, if not freaking maybe even somewhere near a mil. That's probably exaggerating. But my point is he's safe after post-supering. But anyways, that's my suggestions for future Gohan. Go for a full additional or a full dodge build. Entirely up to your choice. Personally, as of right now where the game is at, maybe down the line after a couple months of getting maybe some new content, or maybe I feel he struggles too much, maybe I'd suggest more dodge. But as of right now, I would suggest full additional and put the rest into dodge. That would be my go-to personally. But I can definitely see the argument for a full dodge build too. Alright, now we're gonna get into Trunks. Now, Trunks, man, Trunks, hold on, let me potentially restart the song here. One sec here. I'm gonna restart the song, or maybe I'll just hold on. Maybe I'll just change it to. Maybe I'll just active skill. Let's see with the active. Yeah, we're just gonna go with this one. This one's fine. All right. So Trunks, he's a little different. So in his base form, because he has a standby form, he raises attack and defense for 1 turn. That's just a 30% buff. and then he stacks defense on his 18 key super. He does stack defense on his 18 key, and then he greatly raises attack for 1 turn. So it's not bad. It's a lot of extra damage. I don't like the fact that it's just raising defense. I would be so much more comfortable with this unit in general if his 18 key was a greatly raised defense. I'm not even gonna lie. The 20% extra defense on that 18 would make a lot of difference for this guy, and I really feel like less people would be mad at him. Or would realize not to be mad. He does have an active entrance animation. He has Key +3, launches an additional attack that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack for 4 turns from the start of turn. Okay, so 4 turns. When can he stand by? Starting from the 5th turn. Man, I hate that so dang much. That is the World Tournament Goku problem. That problem of losing a part of your passive and then you have to wait a whole extra turn is just so brutal. It's so wrong, in fact. It's just so wrong. But anyways. So, Key +3 attack and defense 150%, plus an additional attack, plus 100% performing a super attack. Key up to 5, defense up to 50 with each attack performed. Keep in mind that's attack, not super. So, plain normal additionals will still build up this defense and key. Reduces damage received by 10% within the same turn with each super attack performed. Now, I hate this. This I don't like. This makes me mad. Because the difference in how, like, safe he is, is based on how many times he supers. So if you put this fool into slot 1 and you knew you were going to get super attacked after he supered, and he didn't super attack at least 2 times, you might be dead if you're fighting, especially Vegito Blue, or if you're fighting the Rose Zamasu, and especially, I'm going to promise you, he ain't going to live against whatever new red zone we're going to get in the coming weeks. Because we're going to get at least 1 more red zone stage. And I just don't know if this is going to be okay. I just don't know. 30% damage reduction is fantastic, but they really needed to make this with just each attack and not each super attack. This hurts the unit so much. Plus an additional attack, 100%, and launches an additional attack as a 50% chance of becoming a super attack in the 2nd or 3rd attacking slot. So already you can tell they don't want you to put him in slot 1. This is not a slot 1 unit. You don't put him in slot 1. Slot 1 equals death. I would highly suggest you keep him to a 2nd slot 2, to keep him to slot 2. I would normally kind of say try to float him off until you can stand by him, but the fact that he raises his defense on 18 key, you want to make sure you're keeping that up. So my suggestion would probably be that if you, let's say you start turn 1 with him. On turn 1, obviously keep him on the rotation in slot 2. When he comes back around on slot 3, or on turn 3, then you can slot him to this slot 3. Because then you can float him off if you absolutely need to. You obviously try to keep him on rotation, whatever slot is safest. But if floating him off is your best option, go ahead. Because by the time he comes back after you floated him off, you will be able to go into his standby form. And trust me, when we get through his standby form, you're going to see why you're going to want to keep him in there. So anyways, so he does also launch another additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack starting from the 5th turn start of battle. Now, keep in mind, you lose this 70% chance up here after 4 turns. So you're actually just losing a 20% chance to super. It's very dumb that they did that. I don't understand what the purpose of it was. They should have just flat out kept this and gave him a more substantial active entrance animation buff. Give him defense, give him 150 defense. I mean, give him guard for 2 turns. Anything would have been more productive than just taking this away and then making it a high chance at the 5th turn. I don't understand what the point of that is. There's a lot of questionable things in his kit. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm ranting too much. So he standbys on the 5th turn. He standbys for 4 turns only. So on the 5th turn, this will only last until turn 9. Turn 9 is your cutoff marker. That's your cutoff marker. During which he will get a charge, which increases by 1 attack per attacked allies. Now this is basically Akatsuki saying you need to pair this fool up with with Vegito Blue. They absolutely want you to pair him up with Vegito Blue, because once you get to Vegito Blue, I mean you're gonna quad super with this fool pretty much almost every single time he comes out. So if you pop this fool, if you get Vegito Blue, because you can get him on the 5th turn. On the 5th turn, you can transform into Vegito Blue. And then you transform, or you do standby, into this Trunks. And you get 1 charge per every super attack he does. Oh boy! Oh boy! He's gonna get up there real nice and quick like. So, once you go into standby mode with Trunks, this is when he actually gets good. This is when he's amazing and godlike. He only raises attack and defense on 12 key. He still stacks on his 18 key. So nothing changed with his super attacks. But he now has key plus 12. Yes, that means that no matter what, if you're starting off at 6 key, that means you're at 18 key super right off the bat. He has attack and defense 200%. So he's actually kind of losing defense from this perspective. Because he's got the attack and defense 150 right here. He's got the... Okay, wait a minute. No, I take it back. He just loses the possible damage reduction. So I take that back. He doesn't lose any defense. This is just his defense pooled up into 1. Calculation-wise, it might be less, actually. Anyways, he launches an additional attack that has a 70% chance of becoming a super attack and reduces damage received by 50% for 1 turn from the start of turn. So that's unfortunate that it's only for 1 turn. So that means he only has the damage reduction for 1 turn. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That's rough. Guards all attacks and launches an attack that has a great chance of becoming a super attack as the first attack in her turn. That's fantastic. He is straight up needs to go into slot 1. Launches an additional attack with 5 or more key spheres. And then he randomly changes key spheres to rainbow key spheres. So that's fantastic. He doesn't have a terrible kit, but he doesn't have an amazing one either. He gets attack plus 50% per charge count. So that means with Vegito Blue super attacking... Oh my gosh. Because Vegito Blue can quad super, so he's getting 200% attack buff just from Vegito Blue super attacking. That's kind of nutty. I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of nutty. Is it every time any ally, or is it just performed by allies? So his attacks don't count towards his charge counter on his standby. It's only allies. So this goes on for 4 turns for his standby. If you have a double Vegito Blue team on the first and the second turn, you could get up to like 10 charge counters with this guy before you launch his active skill just on 2 rotations. I mean, that's pretty... he's gonna do a lot of damage. But there's one thing he doesn't have. Like, out of both of these kits that we're seeing on his base and then when he transforms, he's missing out on crit. That is predominantly the one thing he is missing is crit. And he's missing it so much so he's doing all this damage, and I just honestly have to tell y'all, you need to build him to his strengths. You really do. Do not build Trunks to make him survive, because then you're just not going to get anything out of him. He'll just be mediocre looking. No, build this guy to be the literal tactical nuke the devs wanted him to be. And to do that, you absolutely 100% need to make sure that he is definitely getting, sorry, the song led up. You have to give him crit, okay? You have to give him crit. If you don't give him crit, he's not doing damage. He has no pierce through. There's no pierce through. Give him the crit, and then put the rest into dodge, and then if you so wish, put a little like 3 or 5 dodge into him. That's all I'll say on the dodge. I'm sorry. You are completely missing out on this unit if you do not give him crit and then additional. Yes, he needs to additional to survive a lot in his base form, but after he gets to this form, he's a monster. He's a monster. When he goes into standby, he's a monster. I don't believe anything in the game currently should live if you effectively build up his standby. I just don't think so. I don't think so. Obviously, I need more playtime testing, and I don't think he's gonna hit like as hard as, say, like a Spirit Bomb from like Z Duo or GT Duo, but he's definitely gonna hurt. He's definitely gonna kill, and I don't expect anything to survive. So, my suggested build for Trunks is to go, honestly, a full crit build almost. Put a healthy additional in there, so maybe go rockin' with equipment orbs, probably like 20-something crit, and then get as high as you possibly can into additional, and then that'll be it. So, I think I'm going to call it on that one, though, guys. So, tell me how you guys are going to actually build Trunks and Gohan. I think this is the best build you can really go for. That's my personal opinion. If you have a different opinion, by all means, let me know. I would love to see if there's a better way to build him that's not going to basically cripple his damage. But crit and additional for Trunks here. And then go for... dodge and additional for future Gohan. That's my suggestions. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day and a good night.